I think a lot of the energies that we are reflecting on this week are the fruits of our labor, where we've put our time and energy, and what kind of harvest we've been able to collect from that. Now, the opening card that we have is the Seven of Pentacles. We see someone who's standing next to a bush. It has 6 pentacles on it, and there's 1 pentacle that's being held to the side. So there is this quality that's asking us to have a little bit of patience with ourselves, because more often than not, we don't do that, right? We want to plant the seed, we want to harvest it right away. And there's this reflective aspect to the energetics in the reading today, which are asking us to hold something to the side and be in a place of observation and learning. The challenge that showed up today is the King of Pentacles. This is a person who has a sense of certainty and stubbornness. They're solid like a huge boulder on the bottom of a hill, right? It's unmoving. And that's our challenge. Where have we allowed certainty to get in the way of us progressing through life? What's interesting to me about this particular card is that it's hinting to the sign of Taurus. And astrologically speaking, we've had some really big transformative energies in the sign of Taurus since about March of 2019, when Uranus moved into the sign of Taurus. Now, when we consider the qualities of Taurus, which I had just kind of foreshadowed as fixed Earth, it is a very solid, almost stubborn energy. And Taurus governs our belief systems. It governs our resources. It governs agriculture. And having Uranus move into that sign in 2019 has brought a lot of big changes and shifts that were unexpected in that area of our lives. So that's our challenge. Where have our belief systems been challenged, and how are we going to work within that? The way through the challenge showed up by way of the 6 of Pentacles. So we see someone who's being judicious with their resources, they're being judicious with their time and their energy. And all over the world, we've been put in this space where we've had to really reconsider where we put our time, where we put our resources, and how we build our life. For many people, they've had to actually reconsider how they even earn a living because of some of the constraints that were put on people in the last couple of years. There's been a lot of change and a lot of turmoil that have ultimately had us reevaluate where we've put our energy and effort and what that has brought us by way of harvest in our life. Now, you can look at the last couple of years and you can see what has worked out and what hasn't worked out, perhaps. And this has maybe, hopefully, called you to reflect on what you feel you need to put your time and your resources toward in the future. And this comes down to having balance in that area. So it's interesting to me that so far we have 3 pentacles on the table. So I want to take a look at the planets that are currently in the element of Earth right now, because I think it's asking us to reflect on that. We have currently Jupiter in the sign of Taurus, as well as Uranus in the sign of Taurus. Taurus is a earth sign. We also have Mars in the sign of Virgo, as well as Mercury in Virgo. And there's an interesting relationship between Mars and Jupiter right now by way of trine. So a trine would be speaking to planets that are in the same element because they have this quality of ease to their nature, right? Earth-ruled signs tend to work easily with other earth-ruled signs because they have the same element at the base of their being. So this lends a quality of ease. But at the same time, there's this challenging aspect happening right now between Jupiter and the full moon, as well as Jupiter and the sun. The sun is over in Leo. The thing that I want to point out, which I think is interesting, is this trine aspect between Jupiter and Mars, which is speaking to how do we live our day-to-day lives? What are we doing as far as preventative health? What do we eat? How do we sleep? How do we exercise? What do we put our energy and effort toward in a daily matter? And can we maybe reevaluate that and bring balance to that? There's this initiating energy with Mars being in the sign of Virgo, as well as Mercury being in the sign of Virgo, because we're getting a place of re-looking at things and reconsidering how we get motivated to do certain things. Now, Jupiter is a planet that brings expansion to an area. And so it's bringing an expansive quality to this challenge aspect that's happening between the moon, which is over in Aquarius, and the sun, which is over in Leo. When we consider the sign of Leo, it is a fixed fire energy, right? And so that, in comparison to an active fire energy in Aries, would be like, Aries is governed by the head, and it sees somewhere that it wants to go, and it just goes there, and it doesn't have a sense of commitment to it. It's always moving. Whereas a fixed fire energy is something that is more solid. It's something more grounded. And the sign of Leo is governed by the organ of the heart. So it's like, where is the heart solid and unmoving? This is in a direct opposition to where the moon is placed over in Aquarius. Now, Aquarius is a sign that is like the long range view of things. It puts things in perspective when we consider that it follows the sign of Capricorn. Capricorn is the sign that goes up the mountain, and Aquarius is the sign that has detachment over how it actually got there, right? So when we have the moon over in Aquarius, it's highlighting things that perhaps we're starting to see that we need to let go of in order for us to attain our long range hopes and dreams. And it's being reflected on matters of the heart. Now, that is in a square relationship with this Jupiter aspect over in the sign of Taurus, because they're in this 90-degree relationship. So it's challenging how we see things and our sense of values. What has been brought to light over the last couple of years that you can't really ignore, right? And this isn't something to, make yourself feel defeated about, so to speak, because I think we all go through life with a plan, right? And every one of us has had that plan shift and disturbed in a few ways over the course of the last couple of years, because there's been big changes that have affected all of us, and it has caused all of us to do deep reflection around what our values are and what it actually means to have stability and foundation in our lives, considering that the fixed signs are all considered very stable signs, and we've had this very upsetting energy of Uranus moving through that sign. It's been churning things over and having us have to re-look at those things and consider, how do we use our resources? What resources do we have? And Uranus is going to be in the sign of Taurus till 2026. So it's going to be in this area causing change for us to actually recalibrate into a belief system that is actually more at the core of our being. Now, Mars is a player in this. Mars is asking us, where do we put our energy? What is motivating us? What does it mean to have a strong foundation? What does that look like? And so that is bringing us one energetic of help at the same time that we are also being reflected in which aspects of our daily lives we need to let go of that are no longer serving us. Now, the interesting energies that kind of followed through those cards are the Three of Cups, as well as the Nine of Cups, which were clarified by the Wheel of Fortune. The Three of Cups is an energetic of joyfulness, and it calls me to ask, how much joy are you actually weaving into your life and making time for? And joy by way of things that actually bring you some kind of pleasure, some kind of openness to your heart, because ultimately that's what joy does. It's followed by the Nine of Cups, which is having nostalgia over certain experiences. And so I ask you, if you don't feel like you've been having those experiences, why aren't you giving yourself the time and opportunity to enjoy those experiences? The ultimate outcome came through by the way of the Wheel of Fortune. Now, this is opportunity through change, right? Opportunity through fated experiences and shifts that are unexpected. because we see that there is this kind of energetic of time, which is being hinted to. And what's also so very interesting to me about this particular card, this particular week, is that these symbols in the four corners here are actually clouds that are speaking to the animals associated with the four fixed signs. So we have Taurus over here in the corner, which is fixed earth. We have Leo over here as fixed fire. We have Scorpio over here as fixed water. And then we have Aquarius over here as fixed air. And Jupiter is right now currently in the sign of Taurus, which is just coincidental. But it brings this element of like, change is necessary for shifts in the fixed signs. Fixed signs are very stable, they're very grounded, and they don't like change. And so having Uranus go through the sign of Taurus, which is the most stable of all of the four fixed signs because it's fixed in the element of water, of earth, it has brought about a lot of big change in our lives. And that change for some people has brought about a lot of opportunity. And if not, I ask you to reevaluate the fruits of your labor to see what has worked and what hasn't, and ultimately what your heart is called to, because you might have to let go of some of your belief systems in order to get there. Now, I want to talk a little bit more about what's going on in the astrological sky right now, because I think that the two cup cards are hinting to an energetic that we're going to be working with later on in the year, which is being highlighted right now by way of their relationship with the planet of Jupiter. Now, every planet has its own timed orbit. And as I had kind of hinted to or dated out, Uranus has moved into the sign of Taurus in 2019. Uranus will be in the sign of Taurus until 2026. So it will be in that area and has been, in that area for roughly about 7 years once it finishes the course of its transit through the sign of Taurus. Now, when we consider Jupiter takes 12 years to move around the whole zodiac system. So it is going to be in any one sign for about a year. And it is a energetic of expansion and changes in a way of reflection, of seeking something higher, something that shifts to bring you to a higher calling. And it being in the same area of Uranus is going to bring a very big change over, especially the next 8 months or so, when it comes into direct conjunction with the planet of Uranus. So we have that interesting aspect going on right now, which I think is also kind of cool, because this helper is in looking at Mars and reviewing how do we live our day-to-day lives, what motivates us to get through our day, and reevaluating our own health and how we take care of ourselves, because that's what this sign of Virgo governs. Now, what's key to me in our reflection as well is these two watery cards, because we have currently the planet of Saturn in the sign of Pisces, as well as the planet of Neptune in Pisces, and they're both currently in retrograde. Saturn has a cycle of around 28 years to go around this whole zodiac wheel. And just for your own review, if you are over 28 years old, you can likely look back at your life and see that when you had your Saturn return, which is when Saturn returns to its natal position in your chart, there was a shift that happened in your life dependent on the variable of time. So some people step into more solid careers when they're around the age of 28. Some people step into more solid relationships, and some people step into very solid areas of study, because there's this anchoring that's placed that has been affected by what we've learned about through our last 28 years of our lives. Now, Saturn brings in this quality of slowing things down, especially when it's in retrograde. And it is currently in Pisces right now. And it is in opposition currently to Mercury, which is over in Virgo. So Mercury is governed by communications and our mind. It governs the mind itself. And it is in opposition to this Saturn energetic in Pisces. So there is this quality of them being in communication with each other and looking at things in a new way and looking at things in more of a long-term range view rather than something that's fleeting, especially because Saturn is in an energetic of retrograde right now. What's so interesting to me, though, is that while Jupiter currently is moving forward, and so is Uranus, both of these planets are going to move retrograde this year. And at that point, Jupiter and Saturn will come more into sync by way of a sextile relationship later on in the year, which will be asking us once again to apply what we know into our resources and what we do with our day-to-day affairs. So whatever you are looking at wanting to build right now in your life that you feel kind of this wanting to jump into, there's this reminder by way of life experience and what's happening right now that you need to slow down if you want to build things with a stronger foundation that are actually going to be lasting for the time to come. So as much as we all want, some kind of sense of relief in wherever we're at right now, whatever our experience is in. And as much as all of us want some kind of certainty, like if I just put my coin in here, will I get this result? Things don't work that way in life. If anything, what life provides us is a lot of different variables and a lot of opportunity through change. But it's only through change that we are able to become and we are able to evolve to a better version of ourselves. So whatever is coming up right now, whatever is being revealed by way of this full moon, in a lot of ways, it's reminding us and asking us to take reflection on what hasn't worked and what we need to let go of. And that may be as simple as what you do with your time in your day, right? If you have a habit that you need to let go of or you need to review, or if there's a place that you spend your time, which is actually contradictory to where you feel like you want to go in life, that is what is being brought to review right now. And it's asking us to recalibrate to a belief system that is more solid in the core of our being. Now, of course, how this is going to show up for you specifically in each area of your chart is going to be dependent on the time that you were born and your sun sign. If you want to investigate that, you can feel free to reach out to me and we'll schedule some time to do that. But if not, that's okay too. I hope that this reading was useful and that by me explaining where the planets were at in aspect visually, I hope that was helpful. And if it was, please let me know. I've been considering going through and offering readings on how these affect everyone dependent on your rising sign, just, because I think it might be really useful, but those will take quite a bit of time. So if you want to donate towards something like that, then you can do so at rootsofalchemy@gmail.com via PayPal. I wish you well through these times of change and things that are being brought to the surface, as a lot of things typically are whenever there's a full moon. I send you a good wish and a lot of love, and I will see you again soon. Bye for now.